Welcome to Live Well with Juniper. I'm your host, Rachel Bremness. Juniper is all about optimizing health as we age. Here we talk about all things wellness and aging in Minnesota. Each week, I'll have guests join me to share wellness expertise, resources, and Juniper behind-the-scenes info with you. Joining me today is Jen Wunderlich to talk about a new diabetes prevention program class specifically for people taking GLP-1s. Jen was trained as a diabetes prevention program lifestyle coach in 2017. Since that time, she has led 10 classes. Because of her quality instruction, in 2025, Jen became certified as a Master Trainer Select for Diabetes Prevention Program. This means that she's certified to train new coaches. Welcome, Jen.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for making the trip up from Mankato to our office here in Minneapolis so that we could have this conversation.
Oh, definitely. Wouldn't miss it.
We are so excited to share this new opportunity for people who are maybe not familiar with diabetes prevention program. Could you tell them a little bit more about what the program is?
Definitely. So the Diabetes Prevention Program is actually a nationwide program that is evidence-based from the CDC or the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It is designed for individuals that are pre-diabetic, diagnosed by their primary care provider or another physician, or for individuals that are at risk for becoming pre-diabetic, like a family history or something else with that. And the program then guides people through a lifestyle change of lowering A1Cs or blood glucose sugars, and then looking through physical activity, healthy eating habits, and then we talk a lot about triggers and stress and just everything that components to make a healthy wellness life. And the program then actually lasts over a whole year. And some people are like, whoa, I get that question a lot. That's really long. But if we think about it, it really takes a little bit of time to get our feet wet, practice our skills that we give you. We call our skills a toolbox, and then working through them on your own. But it really takes that long to really get invested in changing what works for you, finding different techniques, and then being able to apply them as well to make those lasting changes.
Absolutely. And the class isn't meeting every week for a year, right?
Correct, Rachel.
Yes.
Yes. So most of the people start with meeting for a couple months at least weekly, and it's always the same time of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then we slowly move to bi-weekly, and then we work our way down to monthly. And that way then it's more intense in the beginning, so you get a lot of more skills up front, really get to bond with your group of people that you're with and lean on them a lot for support then as well, besides your coach, because you get an individual coach that's assigned to you for the group as well to go through this journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, accountability buddies is what I like to call them.
That's perfect. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Accountability buddies. I love
Because
it.
things come up in life, right? Like you'll have the holiday season might be approaching, right? We have holidays all year round. So pick a holiday. And there's always specific foods that come with holidays. And that can be tricky when we're trying to navigate in some lifestyle changes. Or how do we stay active while we're traveling?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's helpful to get ideas from other group members who are maybe also trying to figure out how do we make a better version of that favorite holiday casserole or whatever it might be.
Exactly. Yeah. We're in Minnesota though, right? So it should be hot dish.
It should be hot dish. You're right. How could I? uh, in Medicare, we know this summer has launched a new pilot program that will allow eligible Medicare beneficiaries to access GLP-1 medications at a lower cost of $50 per month.
Mm-hmm.
And GLP-1s have gotten a lot of attention in recent years because of their weight loss benefits, as well as reducing risks associated with chronic conditions like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, arthritis, etc. So individuals should definitely be talking to their healthcare provider
Mm-hmm.
about that opportunity to see if they are eligible, because there are specific health criteria to qualify for that program. And we also know that experts say that with GLP-1 medications, they're most effective when paired with a comprehensive weight management program or lifestyle change program. How does diabetes prevention program help participants build the habits they need for long-term success when taking GLP-1s?
That's a great point, Rachel, because the original research for GLP-1s was done with lifestyle change programs. And the DPP is a perfect pairing with that because that's where the evidence base comes for the DPP is a lifestyle change. We talk about that physical activity, we talk about the healthy eating, but then we talk about other social wellness components and physical components that make up all that. So your stress, your triggers, anything and everything you can think of with that group support that makes a huge difference on whether how successful you are in the long term. Because a lot of people that do take GLP-1s, if they don't have that support, they're not as successful. And people that do go through the DPP, specifically without GLP-1s, research shows that if they're over age 60, there are more than 70% effective at not becoming type 2 diabetic.
Wow.
It's that important. And then when you pair it with GLP-1s, the two of them together are like perfect together.
A natural fit.
It is. It's a huge natural fit.
Yes. GLP-1 medications often reduce appetite. How can participants ensure that they're still making nutritious food choices?
That's a great question, Rachel, because what we do a lot of times, and part of the curriculum is we also talk about how to build a healthy plate.
Mm.
So we talk literally about what your plate should look like and portion sizes and serving sizes, the difference actually even between the two of them, and making sure your overall health choices work for you. And that's the one unique thing about the DPP compared to maybe if we're looking at maybe traditional weight loss things is we look at how it works for you. We're not giving you this is what you should eat program, but how can healthy choices become part of your overall lifestyle and then making it fit within what works for you. Because everybody that comes into the program has a different background, different life experiences. So not coming out of the program, you're not going to be the same either. So finding that connection for you specifically.
That makes sense. And what strategies you teach for meal planning, portion awareness, or mindful eating in the program?
That's another really good question. And each site and different techniques have found working well with each other. And that's where sometimes the group support can come as well, because a lot of times, especially when I'm coaching, I'll open it up to group and say, what's worked for you already? And then we'll start brainstorming ideas. And some people are like, oh, I never thought of that before.
Yeah.
So then they'll share tips and techniques about what has worked for them then too.
Yes. One of my family members took the diabetes prevention program several years ago, and I remember her sharing with me how she was getting tips on where to find low carb wraps for a good price and at which store to go to.
Exactly. And all that can fit within that mindful eating,
Mhm.
healthy background for find what works for you and making sure that your lifestyle is your lifestyle, not Sally's from across the table
Yeah.
or anything like
Because
that.
people like to eat different things, right? Like some of us prefer sandwiches that are wraps. Some of us prefer sandwiches that are bread. Some of us can't stand sandwiches at all. And we want to have something else for lunch.
Exactly. There's so many different ways on how to build a healthy meal that makes it very unique for each person. And that mindful eating, we do talk a little bit about on how you can recognize different things, different triggers and cues
Mhm.
on what you feel, and then recognizing those techniques a little bit more than too. So it's another tool in our toolbox that we have.
Yes, absolutely. Physical activity, that's another key component of diabetes prevention program. Is that still important for someone who's successfully losing weight on a GLP-1?
It's actually very important to be physically active when you're on a GLP-1. It is for everybody overall, but that does not change if you're taking that medication or any other medication. What people should be doing is trying to start at where they're at and then slowly building up what activities that might work well for you, different forms of physical activity engagement. But again, in the end, it's finding something that works for you. And we use a lot of group support to maybe bounce different ideas off. Coaches can help a little bit too to guide participants in different ways. And then finding what maybe different seasons here again in Minnesota that we have,
Yeah.
what works, maybe inside, outside, across the board. Just again, making that technique and
Mhm.
consistency is key.
Because an exercise program isn't going to work if we don't want to do it. So, so it has to be
Exactly.
something that we enjoy, has to be something that we will realistically do every day. And I have heard that for people taking GLP-1s, exercise is really important, partly because we want to make sure we're maintaining muscle.
It is. And that's one of the biggest things too that people have noticed is if they haven't been physically active before and they're starting to take a GLP-1, it can be a little bit challenging on where to start.
Hmm.
So using your coach as a resource is a great tool, and especially doing, even if it's just starting with 2 minutes and building up for there, whether it's
Yeah.
a little bit of strength training, some resistance bands, even taking a walk, finding that kind of niche area that is helpful for you is really important.
Hmm. It sounds like the coaches for diabetes prevention program do help or work with people one on one quite a bit to try to figure out what will work from them from a nutrition standpoint and for a fitness, also a fitness standpoint within the group environment. So it's certainly not one on one coaching, but there's definitely a lot of one on one time happening.
There can be, depending on how each group is set up too. And what
Mhm.
happens a lot of time as you move through the sessions and the time that you're together, the group really bonds with each other and really is starting to look out for each other and support. And that's unique. And then the coach can spend more time helping some people get to where they're at. But then the importance, so too, of making those connections early with the coach, finding out what each participant's like, maybe where they're at, helps build that a lot of rapport then too. And then participants want to keep coming back.
Mhm. Oh, of course, why wouldn't they?
Exactly,
That's
right?
where, yeah,
Yes.
that's where all my friends are. So you've led 10 classes,
Mhm.
which is remarkable. What challenges have you seen that participants typically encounter while they are on this year-long journey? And how does the program help them to overcome those challenges?
Mm. That's a really good question, Rachel, because honestly, over the years of leading classes, each person that comes in, it seems like with a slightly different challenge.
Ugh,
Of course,
certainly, yeah.
yep, different
Yeah.
backgrounds again and everything. But probably the most common challenges often hear from the group is, "Oh, I don't have to give up this food." Well,
Oh.
nope, you don't have to give it up. We just maybe figure out creative ways on how
Mm-hmm.
we can fit that into your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Another challenge some people give that I've heard is, well, but I don't want to do this today. How do I get going on this? And then a lot of times, myself as a coach, this is a great place that I can involve the rest of the group then. Oh, do you have any ideas that
Mm-hmm.
maybe they can help? And then I can add in some other ideas into as a coach
Mm-hmm.
then there. Because I'm a coach. I am not one that's going to have all the answers for everything.
Sure.
So I'm there just to guide the group along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Another big challenge a lot of people will find is they joined the class because they knew they needed to. They met some really amazing people, and then maybe they weren't losing weight as fast as they thought.
Yeah.
I get that one a lot too. So then we talk about, well, maybe what's a tool that we can use to help us look at how many calories we are maybe taking in, how much physical activity, what does your plate look like? All those other kind of things that we can look at. And then if we start really looking at that big picture, then they can see that then too and make adjustments as need be. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of self-reflection
Mm-hmm.
as where we help direct as a coach then too.
Mm-hmm. And I think you said in that wonderful explanation, Jen, something important for listeners to understand that in this class, it's not as if the coach is telling people what to eat or what not to eat,
Correct.
because most things can still be eaten. It's just a matter of how do we maybe tweak it a little bit to
Mhm.
meet our goals. Maybe we don't eat it as often. Maybe we swap ingredients in that recipe.
There's a lot of
A
recipe
smaller
makeover.
portion. Yep.
Oh, yes. We get really creative ways, and somebody's like, "Oh, let's try this," kind of thing. I've had other coaches tell me too, and this was an amazing idea. Their coach challenged them to make an amazing recipe with just a can of black beans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there was like nobody had the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, so you can find so many different ways and looking at it from whether it's just a can to like a slice of bread or whatever, say maybe your favorite food is, how you can incorporate a little bit more, a little bit less, maybe a smaller portion, maybe a more correct serving amount, different things with that can make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I want some of those recipes. What happens when someone does reach their weight loss goal? Do they just stop taking class or does the class continue to support them?
So depending on what somebody does, depending on where they're at within that whole program though, is we want them to come for the whole year because that way they can reinforce the skills that they have learned, but then also keep moving through with the rest of the group and get that support that they need overall to keep maintaining and keep working on some healthy skills because each person in the class might meet their goal at a different time because what we set out for usually the curriculum asks is a 5 to 7% weight loss. That's it over the entire course of the year.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So it's not a lot, but just that little bit can make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people might meet it like within 4 to 6 months. Other people take 8 months just because maybe they're working through other family things or other lifestyle things,
Yeah.
whatever. And so we want them to keep coming because then they can help support the rest of the group too.
Mm-hmm.
And then keep working on their maintenance skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then that gives them a practice on what they do after class.
Definitely. Definitely. So you are going to be offering a diabetes prevention program class specifically for people taking GLP-1 starting in September.
Mhm.
September 22nd is the start date. The official name of the class is Diabetes Prevention Program, Lifestyle Change Support for GLP-1s. Who is eligible to take this class?
So eligibility, we have our typical eligibility. So if somebody is already diagnosed with prediabetes from their physician, and if they're also taking GLP-1,
Mm-hmm.
or again, if they have a family history or a risk and they're taking out GLP-1, we would love to have them come along. Or maybe somebody's like, I'm taking a GLP-1. Am I still eligible? That'd be a great question to follow up with a primary care provider or physician another way too, if to see if maybe they're eligible in another way as well.
Yes,
Mhm.
definitely. So when and where is this class happening and who is leading it?
That's a great question. So we're actually going to offer this class virtually. So that way, then wherever you're at in Minnesota
Mm-hmm.
and you are really interested about this, you don't have that as a barrier to drive to come to me because I'm actually one of the facilitators and coaches for this class. So I will
Oh,
get to meet you.
wonderful.
Yes,
Yes.
it's going to be great. And then you can use that support in a virtual setting then too. And then I also have another coach that's going to be with me. So my background, besides what Rachel said, is I also have a background in exercise part. So that's where I'm helping out with some of this. And then I have another individual that is working on becoming a registered dietitian. She is almost done with school. And so then we'll be pairing us together. So that way, then if there's some questions that we can answer specifically within our scope as a lifestyle coach,
Mm-hmm.
we can answer that and have specific specialties in those areas.
It sounds like a fabulous pairing. What a dream team.
I hope so. That's
Nice.
kind of the point with that,
Yes.
that, yep, get a little bit more specific approach with this because there are individuals that are on GLP-1s that maybe don't have enough support or not sure where to get support. So we want to make sure they have specific support
Mm-hmm.
with that piece.
Definitely. Because it is a little bit different what you need to eat when you're
Mhm.
taking a GLP-1. And I've said this before, the class starts on September 22nd. It will be meeting on Tuesdays
Mhm.
at 10 a.m. You have an info session scheduled for Tuesday, September 15th
Mhm.
at 10 a.m. What can people expect for that info session?
So the info session is a place where you get to meet me and then my co-coach. And then you can meet all the other people that are interested in this program as well. And then I give a little bit of a rundown on how the program works. So kind of like what we're talking about here right now, Rachel.
Yeah.
And then the format. So how often we meet, what days we may take off for some holidays or things like that. You get a whole schedule. And then we talk a little bit about prediabetes and diabetes, why we have this program specifically. And then we also spend some time just answering questions from interested individuals. So that way they make sure that first session, we're ready to go right away. We do some amazing icebreakers and get into that.
Wonderful. And where can listeners enroll or learn more about this class?
That is a great question. And actually, I'm going to bounce that back to you with your website.
Yes, it is on the website. It's on yourjuniper.org. So people can go to yourjuniper.org, click on classes, and click on Diabetes Prevention Program, and you'll be taken to our class search tool. And you can filter by the program name, which again is Diabetes Prevention Program, Lifestyle Change Support for GLP-1s. And the class will pop right up. So you can register there or also contact Jen for questions. And Jen, maybe you could share your phone number with folks.
Yes, you can always call me. And my number specifically here is area code 507 978 6464. And that's my direct work number. So you don't even have to go through our switchboard or anything. And I can answer all your questions on that. Even if you're like considering it or not sure, just give me a call and I can walk you through some other, if you're anything else to do with the class.
Yeah.
And if you're also interested in the regular DPP, if you're not taking a GLP-1, I can answer some of your questions too. And we do on the Juniper website have regular DPP classes, not specifically for GLP-1s on there too.
Yes, yes. So, Jen, do you want people to register on yourjuniper.org before they attend the info session, or do you want them to contact you about the info session before they decide to register?
You can actually do both.
Okay.
Yes, you can register for the info session or register for that and then attend the info session because I will know then you're coming. Or you can call me too. I take both. And that way, then I can make sure that I get people's names too ahead of times. And there are some people that like to just call me and just ask questions about the DPP because they're just a little hesitant again with that year commitment. And so we spend a little bit of time talking about that then too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It sounds intimidating at first, but I think once you break it down into it's weekly for about 8 weeks and every other week, and then once a month, it starts to fit into your schedule.
It really does. And the other bonus thing is too, is most people by the time we get like about halfway through, they're like, we're halfway already. What am I going to do when we're out in the wild without the group?
I know. I have heard of people taking the class multiple times.
Yes, that is always an option.
And we do know that Medicare has removed the once per lifetime benefit limit for diabetes prevention program. So if people qualify, they can still take the class multiple times.
Yep. And we won't turn you away with that piece. The other thing too is if you happen to miss sessions, myself and then my co-facilitator coach, we always try to do makeup sessions too. So we don't want that to hold somebody back from not coming. Oh, I know I'm going to be gone for 2-3 weeks on vacation.
Sure.
We'll do makeup sessions because that's the last thing, because you also have to live your life.
You do. We all need to have the ability to have a doctor's appointment or a vacation or a sick day over a 12-month period.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
And that's probably one of the biggest questions I usually get as well is, oh, I know I'm going to be gone. Well, then we'll do a makeup session either before or after you're back. But the bonus point thing is with this being virtually, you can log on anywhere with us on Tuesday mornings and we can see your lovely smiling face as well.
Yes, that is. And we've had that happen before. I know I've been in classes where we've had people join from their vacations in Portugal and California and Oregon, all over.
Yes.
All over. And it's kind of fun for your fellow participants to see you in your exotic locale as well. And it might be fun for you to tune in as too, depending on the time change. So the time difference, I should say.
Yeah.
Oh, Jen, one thing I forgot to ask you is there a cost for this class?
Oh, that's a great point. I honestly forgot, Rachel, and that's a question I got all the time. They're like, ooh, this amazing program. How much does it cost? Because I can't imagine, right? So actually, Medicare covers it most of the time. If you're not Medicare eligible, we actually have a grant that covers that for well. So for most individuals, this is going to be a free opportunity for you for a lifestyle change program.
Wow.
I know, right? But biggest thing is we'll check so you don't have to understand your insurance or any of those things. Myself and then our billers, we can answer those questions too. So we even do all the filing and stuff for you.
Yes.
So take all the headache out of that.
Yes. Try to make it as simple as possible for people, right?
We
To
do.
reduce barriers. Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for all of this good information. One thing that I always like to ask our guests as we close out is just for a piece of wellness advice that you would like to pass on to our listeners. What's a good piece of wellness advice that you have heard that you think others could also benefit from?
My favorite piece of wellness advice, since my background is in exercise, it's a little corny, but motion is lotion.
Oh,
I don't know if anybody has heard that one
I've heard
before.
that before.
Okay, motion is lotion. So any kind of activity, whether you are taking a walk or doing some chair movement or anything like that, is just doing any kind of movement will help your body.
That's wonderful. And so true, right? It's oftentimes I've been sitting in my house the last few days because of the air quality conditions that we have going on at the time of we're recording this in July in Minnesota. And I can feel it. I can feel it in my body that I haven't moved a whole lot. And it sure felt good to come to the office today and walk up the stairs and move a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just
Mm-hmm.
any kind of movement helps.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Jen. Thank you for joining us today. Listeners can find Jen's classes and others at yourjuniper.org. Jen, are there other ways that people can get in touch with you that you want them to know about?
My phone number that I gave earlier would be a great opportunity. Otherwise, going to yourjuniper.org, and then you can see all of our classes, and anybody else that is in that network area too would be a great way to get any kind of class information.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jen. And thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Rachel Bremness, and you've been listening to Live Well with Juniper. If you like this podcast, support us with a donation at yourjuniper.org. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and don't forget to share with friends. Until next time, be well.